Neshobe Island on Lake Bomazene has quite the history. From the Algonquin Round Table using the land as their own playground in the 20s, to artifacts of Native American settlers, you can never be sure what story you'll hear or the history lesson you'll receive from current owners Taveen and Jerry Brown. Curious about the island, we reached out to the Browns, who kindly welcomed us for a visit. During the summer, there's only one way to visit the island: by boat. The landmass located in the water of Lake Bomazene is 7 acres, complete with walking trails, a barn, stone house, and a green-painted clubhouse, once used as a hotel for some of New York's famous actors, writers, and playwrights. Neshobe Island is a jewel nestled in the heart of the Green Mountains.
We wanted to find a place on the lake, so my husband was driving around looking for places in Lake St. Catherine and Lake George and Lake Champlain. And we had heard of Lake Bomazene but didn't know anything about it. So one December day, we pulled into a real estate office, Windabird Century 21, and Jerry says, "We're looking for a place on the lake." And she had just come back from a 10-day vacation and things weren't going well, and she said, "Well, let me show you a few." So what did we look at, like 8 of them around the lake? And Jerry said,
"Well, I grew up on 250 acres down in Granville. I'm a dairy farmer, or I was, until I was 18, and I realized I didn't like milking cows. So we were looking at all the runs around the lake. They were all a little close together for me.
Yeah.
So when she asked which one I liked, and I said there wasn't any that afforded me the privacy that I wanted.
A few minutes later, the real estate agent had a new idea: Neshobe Island.
Then she said, "Well, the island's for sale."
and we said, "What island?"
Where? And I grew up in Granville, and I never heard of it because Lake St. Catherine's where Timoth Pond was as far north as we came.
Yeah.
So it meant, we said, well, let's just take a look at it. Fortunately, it was late in the season, so the owner, Merritt Chandler, actually had to bring us out here with his boats, because all the boats were out of the water. So he got to meet her and I, and that is what made the sale. He didn't want, the Rock Group Fish offered him his full price for it, and he just didn't want them to own it. He wanted a family to own it and somebody that was capable of taking care of it.
The rest, they say, is history. Taking over ownership in 1998, the Browns say the island is a labor of love. For making hefty infrastructure improvements, this is the first year since buying the property the Browns don't have a major project underway. This year, the Browns are focused on enjoying island time with family and friends and watching the baby eagles learn to spread their wings.
It's the 3rd year we've had babies on the island. We had the eagles come and visit before. I think they were checking the place out too. So it makes it fun because we're right watching them grow and take off and fly and fish. And we see the immature ones that were born previous years come back. So they're still around.
While much of the property's beauty is captured in the natural landscape, the clubhouse, barn, and stone home all flash back to a different era, which makes researching the characters who once graced the island a fun task. I know you've collected a lot of the, artifacts and things that you've been able to find to sort of make sure that they stay and are preserved here.
So many of the books are out of print, and so many of the people who came here, nobody's even heard of. So I just went on Amazon.com and I wrote down Algonquin Round Table and Neshobe Island and everything that came available for sale, not first editions, just books I would buy, and the library's filled with them now. So if people want to learn more about who came here and what they did, it's a wonderful collection. And I have scrapbooks full of things, and it's just kind of a hobby now.
The library, located in the stone house, is full of black and white photographs, books, and a worn reading chair. It was Alexander Walcott's favorite reading spot. The Browns haven't refinished it, wanting to showcase memorabilia of previous owners. On the wall, pictures highlight famous faces that traveled to the island.
Down at the clubhouse, sitting on the couch, is still there. Helen Hayes on the left, her husband Charles McArthur on the right.
While you could spend hours thumbing through books, looking over pictures, much of the essence of the island is outdoors. When first docking, newcomers to the island, like ourselves, are quick to spot an old Jeep and wooden barrels left on Neshobe Island by previous owners.
The barrels were in the barn from the 20s, and what they were used for was to bring the flour and the cornmeal or anything that the chef need to cook the meals for the rich and famous in the 20s. The Jeep was here by George Chandler. He owned Hubbardton Forge, His dad had him, he taught him the work ethic, so that Jeep was helping him out here.
Most of the big ticket items, like the Jeep, made it to the island during winter when the lake is frozen over. Not a huge fan of winter and cold weather, Jerry Brown prefers a different method for transportation, a homemade barge.
Well, when the big barge was in the water, which we don't need it because we're not doing any structural anymore, she would just put the car on the barge, bring it over, and we unload it just like everybody
Yeah, we
does.
could drive up here, and that made it easy.
The ferries for the islands,
Yes.
Block
just
and
drive on and off.
Nantucket and all that.
Well, similar, but there wasn't a boat operator. You got to do it yourself.
The Browns say living on the island is peaceful and quiet, but the most fun they have is when family and friends come over to stay.
People have been so kind to us, and we've gone out of our way to invite people to come and see the island, and we just love showing it off because we've worked very hard to make it like this, and this is the first year we don't have a major project. So it's like fun now.
Inside the two homes, the green clubhouse where most guests stay, and the stone home on the hill, the Browns have kept the feel the same while at the same time investing in infrastructure upgrades to secure the building's longevities.
My favorite thing about the island, though, is the communal living sort of thing. When people come, it's not like I wait on them. I just don't do that.
Yep.
We all go in the kitchen, we cook the meals, we set the table. If you spend the night here, there's a set of sheets in the bottom drawer, and I expect you to change your sheets, put clean ones on, and then all I have to do is wash the sheets and put them in the drawer for the next company. So
Smart.
I try to make it as easy as possible for me. And
But not only that, it also gives them a sense of what it may have been like when, when they had this as the clubhouse and the hotel. It's sort of, you're flashing back to sort of that experience they may have had.
But until they go get groceries, they don't know what it's like. I mean, we touch groceries 7 times before we use them. From getting them out of the grocery cart, into the car, out of the car, into the boat, out of the boat, into the golf cart, and out of the golf cart and into the kitchen.
So everything's a labor of love.
It is.
The Browns have worked tirelessly to make sure the character of the buildings remain as close to the original as possible. From antique tubs and sinks to original kitchen cabinetry in the stone house, you get the sense of what life on the island looked like for those who came before the Browns. While on paper, Devine and Jerry own the property and the tax bill that comes along with it, they don't consider themselves the owners per se.
But you definitely don't own it. This place will be here long after we're gone.
Yeah.
So you just take care of it the best you can, and everybody does this. The next one will do the same thing.
The Browns prefer to call themselves the current caretakers of the island.
Because anybody can own it, but to keep it and take care of it, that means you've got to have somebody very special.
It's not just the homes that are full of history, but the barn is a treasure trove of fun finds that date back to some of the original faces known for staying on the island.
They said the local people weren't so bad, but the tourists who came wanted to see the movie stars here, so they'd have to put a lot of these. That's when Harpo dressed up and chased them away.
Harpo Max is the man Devine is referring to. It is said he, along with other famous New York faces, spent a good amount of time here playing long matches of croquet and scaring mainland residents with odd behavior. For us, the barn was a great glimpse into how past residents spent their free time. Outdoors, there was plenty to do as well, from touring hiking trails along the outer rim of the island to sitting outside by the campfire. The island is a little slice of heaven.